Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Friday, May the 30th, 2025. Almost another month down. Can you believe it? Almost 5 months into the year. Round 12 of the AFL this weekend. Just seems like yesterday we were celebrating New Year's Eve and then the start of the football season. And here we are, the end of May. Geez, it goes quick, doesn't it? We've got to celebrate while we can, life, don't we? Because it comes and goes pretty quick. Anyway, on this day, on May 30th, in 1951, the great Ezzard Charles defended his world heavyweight title with a 15-round decision over Joey Maxim, the light heavyweight champion, and another case of the good big man will always beat the good small man, if that makes sense. Not so much anymore these days. Fighters are all over the place with their weights, but back then that was a massive jump, though. It still is, I suppose, light heavyweight to heavyweight. Michael Spinks, of course, did it in 1985 over Larry Holmes. That was a bridge too far to cross on that night when Joe Maxim came up short against the great Ezzard Charles. Also on this day, and it seems like it was yesterday, fair dinkum, it's making me feel really old, but it was actually 38 years ago. Wow. I remember watching this on TV. It was Iron Mike Tyson defending his WBA and WBC heavyweight titles with a 6th round knockout of former WBC champion Pinklon Thomas. Now, this is when Mike Tyson was really on a tear. Now, to think he was still 20 years of age. I think he was a month shy of his 21st birthday, if you can believe it. I just cannot get my head around it. What was this, May 30th? So, yeah, I think his birthday is June 28th, 1966. 66 he was born. So he'd won the WBC title in devastating fashion. What was that, November of 1986 over Trevor Berbick, that 2nd round knockout. Who can forget that? It's on pretty much every highlight reel that ever comes up on the TV for the big fights. Then I think it was February or March, where he defeated a very disappointing James Bone Crusher Smith for the WBA belt. Bone Crusher pretty much ran the whole fight, which is unusual with Bone Crusher. I didn't even think knew how to run. He was just that really typical stand-up slugger was Bone Crusher. And in that fight, though, he did not turn up, which was really disappointing because it was sort of billed as going to be one of the most explosive fights of all time when they fought us. But it was going to be another Hagler Hearns. Didn't turn out that way, and Bone Crusher, as I said, just literally did not engage for 12 rounds. I don't know why or how fighters do that. You know, these big fights, we've just seen it as recently as School up against Canelo. You're a professional fighter, you've got a world title fight, you're on worldwide TV, with an opportunity of a lifetime, and you don't even attempt to take it. It just blows my mind. Anyway, I suppose people are just made of different fabric to others. You get others that go in there and give it their all, and then you get others that just couldn't really care less and they're just happy to take the payday and say they shared the ring with the champion. I don't get it. Anyway, but then on this night, Pinklon Thomas, he had actually lost that WBC belt to Trevor Berbick. And the funny thing is with Pinklon Thomas, he never did anything after this fight. His career went downhill fast, but he beat Tim Witherspoon for that WBC belt, and he was sort of lauded as the new Larry Holmes, the new heir apparent heavyweight champion. This is obviously about when Tyson was about to knock out Berbick, so not great timing for Pinklon Thomas, but he had a really good jab. He was trained by Angelo Dundee, and he was, as I said, he was really looked at as maybe being the next guy. And then he was upset by Trevor Berbick in what should have been just a routine decision win, or just a win in general, because Trevor Berbick was seen as probably a bit of a journeyman at that stage, and Pinklon Thomas lost to him over 12 rounds. And of course, Trevor Berbick went on to fight Tyson. Tyson, for some reason, just wanted an in-between fight. This is how he was. You know, he'd fought in November, he'd fought in March, and he was fighting in May. And he would fight again, I think, in August or something against Tony Tucker. And then he would fight again in October. Just one of those fighters at the time who would just fight 4 or 5 times a year in world title fights. He just, obviously, it's done these days, but back then Iron Mike, and he was just still probably when you think about it, with standards, I suppose, well, the precedent set by other fighters, it was probably about 5 to 6, even 7 years away from his peak. And he was doing that at that time. That's why my argument, I'll always have that against people that always rubbish Mike Tyson, because at that stage, at 20 years of age, he was just bowling everyone over. And that's when the heavyweight division was pretty good. We had some pretty good fighters around. I actually talked about it yesterday, the lack of heavyweights in this day and age. But back then, with the likes of Witherspoon and Thomas and Tucker and all these sorts of guys, I mean, the division was actually quite strong. The heavyweight division was extremely healthy back then. And the heavyweights were dominating, American heavyweights that is, and always big fights. And of course, with Tyson involved, the heavyweight division probably hadn't been at that peak or at that sort of those heights since Ali, Fraser and Foreman. It was amazing to be around then. But he knocked out Pinklon Thomas in devastating fashion. Pinklon Thomas was no match to Iron Mike, and he absolutely obliterated Pinklon Thomas, and I thought was a really impressive performance. On the undercard, you talk about cards these days, this is when Don King was the king of promoting. He had, Tony Tucker defeated James Buster Douglas for the vacant IBF heavyweight title, and would then fight Mike Tyson in the unification fight later in the year. So, and I think on that undercard as well, I remember Tony Tubbs fought, Greg Page fought as well, former heavyweight champion as well. I think Tubbs might have been a future champion. He was a future champion. So to have that as a double header, Tyson and Thomas and Tucker and Douglas, and then have Greg Page and Tony Tubbs on the undercard, just to name a few. There could have been a couple others on there, but that was when Don King put on some great cards. So on this day anyway, that is what happened. Mike Tyson over Pinklon Thomas. And again, I'll always say that was the Tyson that could give any heavyweight in history a run at 20 years of age. Can you just imagine, even the knockers out there, the ones that always get stuck into Tyson, and one thing you can't say is that he wasn't fighting and beating everyone. He literally fought and knocked out every single worthwhile heavyweight of that time. How good he could have been if he had stayed with Kevin Rooney. This is after the Spinks fight. Stayed with Kevin Rooney and really kept away from those, let's just say, pieces of shit that got around him and absolutely just destroyed him and his career. How good he could have been. It's just amazing to think. And we all give these other fighters all the plaudits and everything else. For some reason, Mike Tyson cops it, but geez, for what he was doing then, just a phenomenon. And I think he could have literally gone down as the greatest heavyweight of all time if he had stuck with Kevin Rooney and stayed on the path. Now, I'm sure that will get a response from a few out there, but bring it on. Let's go. This is what it's all about. All right, some other news. Talk that Tim Tszyu will be teaming up with Manny Pacquiao in a training camp over in LA. Now, I did say the other day the press conference is going to be the 2nd, so that is next week. Then tickets go on sale the day after. So I think Glenn Jennings was interviewed, and he did say that Tim will spend the majority of his camp here in Australia, and they're going to fly out I think, was it 2 or 3 big, tall, lanky, southpaw middleweights or super welterweights out here to spar Tim. And we will spend all but a couple of weeks here in Australia. But in the meantime, I think he's flying over there. He might have been flying over there yesterday, actually, to do the press tour. And I think he's going to go to the fights this weekend in Vegas as well. So he's going to start do that over the next sort of week or so. And then he'll fly home and begin the main part of his training camp. No doubt he's already training now. It's only, 6 weeks away, I think it is. So 6 or 7 weeks, whatever it is. But yeah, no doubt he's already in training now, and he'll go over there. He'll train with Manny in LA. I think he's going to do some training in Vegas as well, and then he'll be home. I mean, the media made a big deal of it, but it's probably only going to be about a week training with Manny. But hey, just that experience training alongside Manny. Not just that, just being alongside him with the press tour as well for that week will be great as well. Just probably more experience for Tim. I know he's been around long enough now to be a veteran and all that, but to be alongside Manny Pacquiao will be quite an experience for Tim, you'd probably think. And his brother Nikita, that was the other thing as well. Looks like he will be fighting in August. He hasn't actually started punching with his left hand yet, which is a little bit of a concern. It's been 12 months, almost 12 months, since he last fought. And the fact that he's just starting to come out of the recovery now and start to just throw that left hand. He can't throw it hard, I think is what he was saying. He's just sort of throwing it probably with the noodles or something like that at the moment, or doing some shadow boxing. So he's supposed to fight in August, and I think on the undercard to that fight will be the Billy Polkinghorne and Ahmed Reda Australian title fight, which will be a cracker. Really, really good fight. I would think that Billy Polkinghorne will win that fight, just my thoughts at this stage, and then we'll probably go into a fight with Harry Garside after that. So some big fights coming up on the Australian scene. A lot of people ask me every week on Talking Boxing and even on this Walking Boxing, and just messages asking what's happening with Nikita. That's what's happening at the moment at this stage, August. Now, you probably think he'll go over, he won't go over with Tim. He'll stay here with Tim, but probably train alongside Tim as he prepares for Fundora. And you would think he would go over to the States, and while he's there, he'll probably do some training over there as well, maybe get some sparring, and then he'll be into it in August. Now, just a quick thing actually on the fights. Now, I did say about the tours in August. It really, looks like it's going to happen. Hopefully it does. It looks like if you come along for the tour, our special guest will be Shotgun Shannon O'Connell and her son, Cooper O'Connell, are looking to come over for the Canelo Crawford tour that we're doing in September. So if you are looking to go, it's a little bit of an attraction. I spoke to Shannon the other day, and she was pretty keen to sort of come over, and Cooper to come and get some sparring as well. So if you're looking to come along, could be an extra treat to have Shotgun along, Shannon O'Connell and her son Cooper. Might even get to see him do a bit of sparring in Vegas. We'll see. So just I'll just say that while I'm thinking of it. So a big few months ahead for obviously Tim, but also Nikita, to see if he can come back from that hand. Now, I'm not sure it was broken or just had some issues with the hand or wrist. I don't remember actually, but either way, it's apparently on the mend and he'll be right to go. Another big fight for an Aussie coming up, Andrew Maloney. Looks like he's going to be fighting Argy Cortez. Is he Mexican? I think he is, yeah. He must be Mexican because the fight's going to be in Mexico sometime in July. Now, great opportunity for Andrew. This is probably, you could say at 34 years of age, the last roll of the dice for him. But I'm really happy that he's got an opportunity. I really do, because it looks like, he's an eliminator for the IBF 115 pound belt, and he's really excited about getting over there. The champion, which was the Mexican, what was his name? His name escapes me at the moment, doesn't it? Don't you hate that when that happens? But it will be an official eliminator, and hopefully Andrew will get a fight with him later in the year if he beats Cortez. So look, it's going to be tough going over to Mexico. It's going to be hard to get a decision over there, and Cortez is a good fighter. He did actually go 12 rounds with Nakatani, was it a year or two ago? So he obviously can fight, but Andrew is very, very confident that he can beat Cortez and get that shot at the IBF belt. And I think no matter what happens in that fight, if he does get a world title fight, win or lose, I think that would appease Andrew as far as being the cherry on top for his career. And no matter what happens after that, hopefully he wins, of course. But if it wasn't the case, then you would think that he would go out of the sport knowing he's done absolutely everything he could in his career and given it a fair shake. Let's hope it's the other option, though, when he actually wins the belt. And then who knows, there could be fights with Bam Rodriguez or Chocolatito, whoever. But let's hope he can take that opportunity, Andrew. But really happy that he's got that eliminator, and then hopefully the world title shot later in the year. Now, some news overnight was that Jaime Munguia tested positive to high testosterone. I'm not up with all this drug sort of stuff, but he did the VADA test, and they've come back and said that his A sample was positive, which is really disappointing. I'm not quite sure what the drug is and what it's supposed to do to the fighter. But either way, if you've got anyone testing positive for drugs, it's not good for the sport. I don't think, that's the funny thing is, I don't think he needed any enhancement to beat Sarase, that was his name, wasn't it? The guy that knocked him out last year. So if it is the case, I think he's got a week or two to let them know he wants the B sample tested. Of course, he's going to want it tested because he already has said that it's not true. But geez, how do you get a positive testosterone test if you haven't taken anything? I don't know. Very, very rarely do the B samples come back negative. So look, it is a shame if that is the case. As I said, I don't think he needed anything extra to beat Sarase, and he's a very, very good fighter, Munguia, and this could really derail his career. I don't know what the penalties are, whether it's fines or bans or whatever it might be, but either way, yeah, you don't want to see it in any sport, do you, where athletes are testing positive to any performance-enhancing drug. So I'm sort of hoping it's not true, but as I said, it's very rare the B sample comes back negative, doesn't it? So we will see. All right, big fight it's officially been announced is Xander Zayas and Jorge, what was his name? Jorge Garcia Perez. Has been sort of confirmed that the fight was going to happen. Now they've got the official date, July the 26th in New York. So a big couple of weeks in New York for title fights. You've got the all-women's card on July 12th, which I will be at. No, July 11th, I think it is, which I will be at. And then July 12th is the Stevenson Zapata Berlanga Shiraz card as well. So that's on the Saturday night. And then this fight will be 2 weeks after that. So that'll be for the WBO belt. And I think on the undercard, who was on that? Bruce Carrington. Yeah, he's on the undercard against Matthias Hayter for the WBC interim 126-pound title. So some good fights coming up. And interesting, if Zayas beats Perez, or whoever wins that fight, I suppose, but you would think Zayas will win it, that you would think that the winner of Tim and Fundora would be the next fight for both of those guys, wouldn't you? I would think, although you would think that Virgil Ortiz will be putting his hand up maybe by that stage to have a crack at the WBC belt, or maybe even that WBO belt. But it's amazing the implications of these fights that are coming up. Some big fights, and especially obviously for Tim and Sebastian Fundora. That's going to maybe just set the scene for what's going to happen in the 154-pound division going forward. But it's make or break, especially for Tim. If he wins the fight, then obviously a lot of doors open up. And if he loses the fight, just not sure where he goes after that. And let's hope we got a big Aussie contingent over there for that fight. I think we will. Prices aren't too bad over there with airfares and accommodation and all that at the moment. It will be bloody hot in mid-July though, that's all I'll say. It should be in the mid-40s every day. So make sure you get a hotel with a pool. But anyway, now one last thing before I go. There is being talks, or people are in talks about letting judges, or the question has been asked, letting judges deduct points for fighters that they feel don't engage. Now, I don't know why this would be raised. I don't like it. You're giving judges who have a hard enough time at the moment getting it right in a lot of cases, and we're going to allow them to take points off fighters that they don't feel are engaging. Now, I know there are examples of maybe where fighters should be penalised, a la William School against Canelo. Maybe, look, geez, what would happen in those fights in Times Square? They'd all be deducted points. We'd have a 0-0 draw, wouldn't we? But I don't like the fact that just because maybe a judge doesn't, or a fighter that boxes very conservatively might not be to the favour of a judge, and they decide to take points and cost them fights. I understand the William School situation. I get that. He probably deserves it. And even Haney and these types of guys deserve it as well. But when you've got let's say, or someone like a Floyd Mayweather Jr., who to some people didn't engage. I thought he was just a master boxer, a beautiful boxer who was just outclassed everyone. Now, what would happen if we had a judge, even say against Manny Pacquiao, who was the aggressor throughout the fight but totally ineffective? If the judge went, yeah, I'm not really liking the fact that Pacquiao's doing all the engaging and Mayweather's not really doing much except counter-punching and not really going at it with Manny, so I think I'm going to deduct him a point. That's what I don't like. I don't like giving them the discretion to do it. I know there's got to be probably other ways that we can score the fight, because at the moment it's very, very basic. It's 10-9, it's 10-8 for a knockdown, 10-7 for 2 knockdowns. Of course, the points get taken off for different penalties and that sort of stuff, but I don't like this aspect of judges just being able to take points just because they don't like the way a guy fights. I don't think it's right. I do think, and I've talked about that on here before, that there needs to be levels to the 10-9. I think if you win just a round that's evenly fought and one fighter wins around conclusively or whatever, you think he wins around, okay, 10-9. But I really think that if a fighter doesn't get knocked down but gets beaten comprehensively, like really knocked around, then it should be a 10-8 round and whatever. There should be a bit more flexibility, even with half points, all that sort of stuff, some flexibility there. But just to deduct points just because you don't like the way a fighter is fighting, yeah, I don't think it's the way to go. Anyway, I'm sure everyone's got their own opinion. But as I said, I do think they need to overhaul the scoring system with the amount of points judges can award. But I'm not really, not really happy about judges being able to take points off themselves. Now, maybe it could be a referee type of thing where they can instruct the judges to deduct a point. But again, that just goes back to what I said. If a referee doesn't really like the way a fighter's fighting, they can penalise them. It's not the way to go, just in my opinion anyway. I don't really like referees getting involved in the fight as far as telling fighters to engage. I don't like it. You're there to officiate and make sure it's a clean fight and do everything like that. But is it really the referee's position or role to say, stop, come on guys, you got to fight a bit more, mix it up? I think the referee in the Canelo and School fight actually said, come on guys, let's entertain the fans a bit. Well, that's not a referee's role. Just stand back. The best referees, of course, are the ones you don't notice. Sit back. Break the fighters up if they clinch, warn them if they do anything wrong, count if they get knocked down, stop the fight if it needs to be stopped, and that is it. Don't talk to the fighters and encourage them or whatever it might be, and certainly not, in my opinion, again, instruct the judges to deduct points. But anyway, everyone's got a say on this matter, I'm assuming, but there are aspects that we need to fix, but I'm just not sure that's one of them. But anyway, just my 2 cents worth. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Hope you have a great Friday, and we will catch you tomorrow.